is going on, Section 103 listeners? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Section 103 podcast, which is a podcast that celebrates the past, the present, and sometimes the future of professional wrestling. Today, we have a double-stacked card for you already on episode 2. But before I get there, I want to introduce you to my co-host. I am joined by Peyton. How are you doing today?
What's up, everybody? I'm doing pretty good. I'm in Carolina Panther fashion. We're probably going to lose, but that's okay. Really need a win, though. We'll see how well this ages. Probably like shit, but I'm doing great, as always. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I like how our pacing of this podcast has had us record session 2 after an incredible weekend this past weekend with AEW's Full Gear, because we saw some shining stars from Full Gear also featured in this pay-per-view, more specifically Ricochet. So I'm very excited to get into that. If you guys thought session 1 was a good one, you're in for a treat with session 2. Why don't you kick us off with what happened this week in wrestling?
Absolutely. So I do want to make just a little note before we get going here, though. With the week in wrestling, again, we're still kind of figuring out things. Especially my biggest thing is how to get tournament highlights in there, like obviously with the World Tag League and Goddesses of Stardom going on. It's a little bit harder since they happen so often, so I can't just be like, oh, on this day, so-and-so, that'll take too much. But also with that, we have a big pay-per-view this week, as you mentioned, being Full Gear. So for the week in wrestling on this one, we'll kind of test it out. We'll just, go through all the shows like normal, give some highlights, but do it in hopefully a more streamlined way. So, kicking us off, fucking Raw, yippee. It actually wasn't bad though. I will say, we obviously talk good amount here. You had texted me and you were just like, you said something about Raw, and you were just like, it was kind of whatever. And I had looked back, I was like, really? Like, I maybe thought it wasn't like that bad. And then I'm looking at it, and now I don't know. I'm kind of like mixed on it. But, getting into Raw here, we saw John Cena's final Raw. That was kind of like what it was mainly marketed as. With some developments as well. Dominic Mysterio gets his rematch at Survivor Series. If I'm not mistaken, this is the only match in his retirement run that has had a rematch, I think. I kind of want to say R-Truth might have had one.
Cody.
Cody, yes, yeah, obviously, because that the first one wasn't that great. But, okay. But, I didn't expect another rematch, honestly. I kind of thought, like, especially once the Cody thing happened, they were just kind of going to run that whole thing. But yes, he will get his rematch for the IC title at Survivor Series. Honestly, he might win, thinking about it, but we'll touch on that there later. As him and the Judgment Day were about to beat up John Cena, as AJ Styles would be proud. But Sheamus and Rey Mysterio come out, and that sets up a fun trios tag match. It was Cena, Sheamus, and Rey Mysterio against Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, and JD McDonough. Also on the show here, Nikki Bella attacked Stephanie Vaquer, which sets up a match between them for Survivor Series. We had some Last Time Is Now tournament action as Solo Sikoa defeated. He had a mystery opponent this week. Zack Ryder was last week for LA Knight. This week here, it is none other than Dolph Ziggler, which was cool too. He was a name that I don't think a lot of people were throwing around, but that was neat to see. Charlotte had saved Alexa Bliss in the beatdown, and she is now on the War Games team. Maxine Dupree, this was the big shocker here. Maxine Dupree defeated Becky Lynch to win the Intercontinental title as a result of AJ Lee returning, which was really funny because people were just kind of starting to be like, wow, did they actually only use her for the ESPN little show? But no, thankfully she's here more, as we'll learn on SmackDown. Another Last Time Is Now tournament action. This match was stellar. Gunther defeated Javon Evans to advance. I know that was your pick for
yes, sir.
Unfortunately. But I got kind of fucked over too, honestly. I think they announced it on SmackDown, but I will just go over it now. Sheamus did injure his shoulder. I believe it was. He had an injury, so he got pulled from the tournament. And they will have a surprise opponent for LA Knight. That's who he was supposed to face. But now it's looking like it'll be a mystery, so that should be fun. I'm not sure who else they'll pull. But the final thing from Raw was Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar returning for the millionth time to join their respective War Games teams. So Roman Reigns will be on the CM Punk team, the Usos. Brock Lesnar will be with the Vision. As far as Raw for me, I didn't actually think it was that bad. I thought, Cena's last match, would it have been cool to see him face someone new? Of course. But at the same time, there's nothing like a fun trios tag match. I think giving him a whole bunch of reliable guys, always great. And he gets to tag with Sheamus and Rey Mysterio, two legends in their own right. I think that was cool, especially now given that Sheamus probably, assuming he would have won, I don't think he would have, but assuming he would have won, at least he got, some moment with Cena. Nikki Bella and Stephanie Vaquero, I'm actually very excited for. I think that will be really good on Survivor Series. That will be in a few days from now. Solo Sikoa defeating Dolph Ziggler. I do like Solo Sikoa a lot, actually. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I am a solo defender. So I think that's cool. And he had a really nasty bump. He gave Ziggler, he sent him into the ring post, and Ziggler sold that thing like he just got shot. It was crazy. And then the War Games advancements. The women's side, I think that's cool. We'll touch base on that again on SmackDown because that's when they finalize the teams. The men's side, I still don't care. The not to obviously touch on sensitive base, but Brock Lesnar, I'm just kind of over it. Roman Reigns, I think he just needs to do something else, face some other people other than being in this vortex. Just give him the Punk match at this point. Solo, I think that would be better than just being stuck in this bloodline storyline vortex that we've been in for the last crazy enough, it's been 5 years.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't feel like it. It kind of feels like 1,000, but it has been 5 very long years. Maxine Dupree, I think that was awesome. That was definitely a big shocker there. And I think she more than deserves it. She's really been working hard at it. And hopefully she'll continue on the pretty strong start that title has had. And then Gunther and Javon Evans, though, that was absolutely the highlight. Javon looked amazing even in defeat. That's something Gunther does really well, is making his opponents look great, even though he is the dominant guy. I'm happy Gunther's back as well. I think he's probably that's the one who's going to win it now, unless whoever LA Knight's surprise opponent goes to the moon. I have been kind of thinking though, maybe they honestly might do LA Knight. I'm starting to think that's the case. There's been a little bit of an idea in my mind that they've been making him lose, but then I think of all the stuff that he's cutting the promo time and whatever, and I'm like, maybe they don't actually like him. I don't know, but I think it's honestly now at this point between those two. But anyways, Gunther, stellar. Men's War Games, I don't care. Give me your thoughts on Raw.
I was actually really happy watching Raw back the next day because I watched it the night of after we finished recording session 1. I thought it was a pretty strong start to Raw. I really love when Cena is in his element of being a fiery babyface hitting a promo. I really enjoyed Dominic coming on out saying, give me my rematch, but we're not going to do it here. We're going to do it on my turf because you had the home turf advantage the last time. The 6-man tag team match was perfect, I think. I know there's a lot of conflicting opinions online on Twitter saying this is what you thought about for Cena's last match. I thought it was really fun. It was a great match. You had Sheamus and Rey, who were probably just loving tagging with Cena versus the Judgment Day. I thought that was great. Nikki Bella attacking Stephanie. I absolutely love when Nikki Bella is a heel, so I don't have to say anything else about that. What else do we have here? Maxine Dupree pulling off a baby face win. And I mean an absolute, you root for this girl from the moment the bell rings to you're like, is she going to do it? Are we expecting AJ? Of course, we were all expecting AJ, but just how it came with the cherry on top being Maxine Debris, your new Intercontinental Champion. Behind the scenes really tells you how much Becky Lynch cares about the future of women's wrestling. Maxine won her title in Madison Square Garden. She is now among the greats who have won not only championships, but won in that building overall. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, I don't really care. I genuinely, I don't. If I could say one positive thing about that segment is, I call it the NXT ending, where you get the end of show logo, but the show continues after that. That kind of being like Roman's new way to return for the 10th time in a calendar year. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes.
Roman looks old. Like, Roman looks very wise man now. Like, he looks old. I thought it was really awesome. Gunther defeating Javon Evans. In my heart, I knew that was it. In my mind, I didn't want it to be a pretty strong episode of Raw overall.
Yes.
And in 2 hours from now, at the time of recording, I hope I can say the same about this week's.
Yes, that is true. So it was definitely SmackDown. That's the bad part. But yeah, no. Question though, do you think, given that it's in San Diego Survivor Series, is Dominic getting booed because it's Cena, or is San Diego holding strong?
I want to see San Diego boo Dominic the same way that Edge got booed at, I think it was SummerSlam 2003 or 4 when that was in Toronto. Just because if Dominic can get booed in his hometown, it really puts so much more oomph behind him as a character. To kind of add on to what you said a little bit earlier about, does Dominic win the Intercontinental Championship here? There's two roads you can travel. There's the first road where Dominic wins. Cena's last tournament match is not for the title. Or B, does Gunther go on another long Intercontinental title reign by taking that title away from Cena?
Yes.
So it's either we're going to have another long Gunther stretch as Intercontinental Champion, or Dominic is just going to grab the title, in 5 calendar days from now? I'm really interested in that. I'd love to see Dominic beat John Cena in Dominic's hometown in one of the biggest, I think, baseball stadiums in America. So I'm pretty excited for the whole tournament and for the pay-per-view, but I do hope Dominic gets booed, not in a bad way, but more so to really add on to this guy is despicable.
Yes. Perfect way to put it there. But we move on to NXT. This is the start of the brand new NXT Gold Rush. It's a 2-week event. This was week 1. It features AAA, features TNA, Evolve. I think that's it. A whole slew of companies coming together here. But it was actually pretty much all NXT talent except for Leon Slater. But yeah, let's get into it. Chelsea Green and Ethan Page defeated Thea Hale and Joe Hendry to retain the AAA Mixed Tag Team Championships. Quick note, Thea Hale, her gear I really liked. Not even because it was anything like crazy. Like, it was her same gear, which I already did like. But the shade of blue was blue's my favorite color. I really liked that shade of blue. So hopefully I can find a piece of clothing with that color. Tavion Heights and Josh Briggs, they brawled in MSG. Fine. Blake Monroe defeated Sol Ruca to retain the NXT North American Championship. Zarya threw in the towel on that one, so there's going to be some interesting developments there. Obafemi challenged Ricky Saints at Deadline, so that match is going to be killer for sure. Trick Williams tried to get involved. Miles Bourne, though, didn't let that happen, so that's going to set up some match between them, I imagine. Dark State defeated Leon Slater and Javon Evans to retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. Would have really liked to have seen that be changed there. And then JC Jane defeated Tatum Pax. This is the big one to win that. She won the NXT Women's Championship via Izzy Dame. I think it's Dame, right? Not Dom. Izzy Dame. I'm pretty sure.
I think it's Dame.
Okay. Yeah. Heel turn. NXT kind of didn't really feel anything too crazy. I'm always happy to see Blake Monroe and Sol Ruca. I think they're both wonderful. I love the Leon Slater, Javon Evans pairing. Obafemi and Ricky Saints is going to be crazy. But of course, none of that. The NXT tag team, because especially with the show that we are reviewing today, and how stacked that tag division was to now, and I'm not saying anybody in it is bad. I think Dark State is doing good, but like the quality of teams has definitely gone down for sure, as we'll learn later today. But yeah, again, the big one. JC Jane. I love JC Jane. I think, again, she's fantastic. I mentioned it last week. Stellar talent, but you couldn't have let this match, this reign go on just a little bit longer. Even if it was just like one successful defense, and then you could add or drop it, but it was just a boom instant. I am curious. Obviously, Paxley will feud with Izzy, as expected, but it was a great turn. Like I think it was phenomenal job there. But yeah, I don't even know if Tatum's gonna win the championship again. Given now, unfortunately. But do you have any thoughts here on NXT?
I just want to honestly touch on that main event because I'm still trying to wrap my head around it that she would turn on Paxley to make Paxley lose the championship instead of taking the championship from Paxley, because she has a pretty strong faction behind her. So if you're kicking Paxley out, to me, I would have assumed that it would have been easier to dethrone Paxley and bring the championship to the faction instead of giving it to JC Jane again. I also thought the heel turn was well executed. You definitely saw it with the mannerisms over the past few weeks with the faction there. But yeah, Tatum Paxley losing the championship already was definitely a deflating moment of the week. And then, yeah, the rest of the show, nothing too big. Zarya and Sol Ruka still have the "no, we're fine, don't worry, we're fine," kind of like the Fraxium joke there. But yeah, other than that, I did not really have anything to write home about NXT.
I agree. I will say though, also I did quite enjoy Blake Monroe and Sol Ruka. Not only their match, but their gear as well. I thought that was way nice. But moving on to AEW here. So this one kind of not quiet, I would say, but it's obviously building up to Full Gear. So I personally don't have much to say on it, but I will obviously go over what went down. So they had 2 matches for the number 1 and the number 2 spot in the Casino Gauntlet. The first match was Bobby Lashley defeating Ricochet. So he got the number 1 spot, and then Shelton motherfucking Benjamin, my favorite, defeated Mike Bailey for the number 2 spot. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic there. The Young Bucks and Josh Alexander defeated Scorpio Sky and Top Flight. Did not know that they were a trio, but I think that's honestly a pretty good pairing. That Top Flight's had a couple like really good pairings that they went nowhere with. Like Leo Rush was awesome. That was probably my favorite. Even Layla Gray, I don't quite know where she's off on now. So on and so forth. But yeah, no. Claudio Castagnoli and John Moxley defeated Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong. We'll be seeing Roderick Strong later on today. Tony Storm and Mira Shirakawa defeated Alex Windsor and Rio. Loved her gear too. It's just been the gear day. Phenomenal. Because Rio usually she wears like pinks and white, which is cool. That's a great color. But the black and red switch up was way neat. And then of course the main event, Adam Page defeated Katsuyori Shibata. I love Shibata, so I'm happy to see that. Which that obviously sets up Page and Samoa Joe for Full Gear. Yeah, again, not nothing too ridiculous, but of course, any highlights for you here on AEW?
I honestly didn't watch this week of AEW live as it happened. I just got to catch up with that Shelton Benjamin super kick that really should have been the end of the match, which it was, but there was like that little miscommunication. I thought that was Shelton Benjamin's finest kick in recent memory, and Shelton also thought that way too. So that was awesome. I really loved how the Hurt Syndicate started off the Casino Battle Royal that we'll talk about in a little bit here. And then the other thing, I just like Ethan Page last week, Josh Alexander was a Guelph, Ontario independent wrestler like for the longest time. I want to say probably close to a decade. So I watched that guy wrestle once to twice a month here, and now he's tag teaming with the Bucks and he's fighting Kenny Omega and he's doing such a good job and he's just living his dreams. I'm nothing but more than happy for that man.
Yes.
But yeah, other than that, AEW from what I saw online, pretty solid show.
Yes, we will talk about Josh Alexander later because he actually had a pretty good showing in Full Gear. But we move to our favorite section of the week in wrestling, fucking SmackDown. It breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart because I was a SmackDown kid growing up, but it was probably because it was blue. Simple as red versus like Pokemon. Pokemon Blue. They won that Splatfest actually, but. I've always been a SmackDown guy. So it breaks my heart that for some reason they just don't know what the hell they're doing on the show. But regardless, going over this here, we open up Drew McIntyre attacking Cody Rhodes in the tour bus. He had a nasty ass scar line on his face. That thing was pretty potent there. We did have a good part of SmackDown. Ilya Dragunov defeated JD McDonough. That was his opponent this week to retain the U.S. title. I'm not a huge fan of JD McDonough, especially with off the ring stuff. But I do know that he is very very quality wrestler, especially when he was Jordan Devlin. Like he was a hooper. When he had that cruiserweight championship, if you remember that. And the Ilya matches are the reason you tune in to SmackDown. So, nothing but good to say there. In that aspect, the reign continues to be phenomenal. Thank God Carmelo Hayes actually won. He defeated Bronson Reed in the Last Times Now tournament. I did not say that he was going to win the tournament because that would have been crazy copium. But I love Carmelo Hayes. I've always been a big Carmelo Hayes guy. Christian Casanova days and all that. I think he just I don't know why they haven't just strapped that rocket to the back. But in NXT he was the god himself. Like he was phenomenal. But I do think it's kind of starting to click now. Thankfully, giving him that win, even if it was probably just a setup, for War Games, because Cody, came back out and attacked Bronson Reed and whatever, means nothing to me because Carmelo Hayes won. That's all I care about. And so yes, he will face Gunther. That's going to be stellar. Probably know the result, but I'm very excited for that match. I think I might have more excitement for that than the Javon Evans match. Maybe a little bit. I'm a big Carmelo guy. But we did have some DIY action, and they will be on the show later. They defeated Fraxium. Good match. That's if that was like a takeover like 5 years ago, man.
Barn
absolute classic. But it was still really good here though. No denying that. Penta defeated Finn Balor in the Last Time Is Now tournament. I'm not sure who he's facing though. They've been very very spotty with how announcing who's facing who in the tournament goes, but that's all right. AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, they officially joined the War Games now. So that matchup is set. There was a little attack, and then I mentioned earlier, but Sheamus is injured, so he's gone from the tournament now. LA Knight will face a mystery opponent at the time of recording. We'll find out tonight. Maybe you don't have any thoughts, but I SmackDown.
Yes, sir.
What you think?
God, I keep rubbing my face every time I go to talk because I'm like, I'm going to sound like a neck beard. But I was so happy that Cody got attacked at the beginning of the show to kind of show the heel team has such an edge and such a momentum gain over the baby faces. But to bring Cody back 2 segments later was actually just crazy. I thought that was just absolutely maybe Raw, maybe next SmackDown, but like Cody just got like viciously assaulted. Mind you, this came with a really strong, passionate, fiery babyface promo from Cody.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it. I did. I love the lines about how a Rhodes will always be the Steiner. I thought that was a fire fucking
Yes,
line.
yes.
What else happened in that show that I watched? Oh, the Carmelo Hayes. I was enjoying how much commentary was putting over Carmelo Hayes. I
Yes,
thought
yes.
that was such a nice touch. I'm also a big NXT Carmelo Hayes guy. Mind you, it was honestly towards the tail end of his run. But man, if there's anything I love about Carmelo Hayes' presentation, it's when he's that cocky, brash heel who can do it all. I love when he used to hang the jerseys with his opponent's names on it.
Fucking dude, he's the toughest wrestler ever. He's so fire.
And then the one thing that like makes me feel like an old head was where we finally get Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano's original themes back to
Yes.
The crowd went mild. And I was just like, guys, we've been wanting this for so long.
Yes.
But those were my takeaways from SmackDown.
Yeah, I completely forgot to mention that. Yeah, they have been it kind of has been going on for a few weeks. I imagine it'll keep gradually coming with all the entrance themes coming back. It definitely does make me realize that a lot of people who are going to these events and who are getting into wrestling, and no gatekeeping obviously there, but a lot of them were not around for this time as far as like 5 years ago, weren't really in, but that's okay. Because we can move on from SmackDown. So, quick little actions here in the Japanese world of wrestling here. New Japan, again, I'm still figuring out how I want to go about the whole tournaments, because it is a lot to keep up with for sure. But the World Tag League in New Japan is underway now. Hiromu Takahashi and David Finlay defeated the Knockout Bros. That to me has been the highlight so far. And so they are ahead. I believe a show is tonight. Don't quote me on that, but if there's a match, I think I definitely want to highlight like what was the best match, just because standings and updates and whatnot. But they are at the top of the block right now, as is 3 other teams, because it literally started like 2 days ago. So there's not much to report, or like, oh, who's ahead of who, whatever. It was only they're on night 3 now, and obviously it's a 1 block per night thing, so it's technically the second night of the A block. But yes, that was the match to watch so far. Knockout Bros, as they're really coming in as a good tag team, and I love the pairing of Hiromu and David Finlay. Have you watched any World Tag League so far?
I have not, but that is on my actual agenda for these next few days to catch myself up for. So when it comes to week 3 of the week in wrestling, I'll be able to comment on New Japan, Stardom, and Marriott.
Yes. Sonata did lose though, so he can just throw the tournament out the water already. But great match. That is the one to recommend. Stardom here. Last time I covered this in the A block, Aquastella was at the top of the Red Goddesses block, but now we have us a 2-way tie right now. Again, results are kind of not constant, but they're constant. So it's changing, but now it's Sayori Pon, that is the team of Natsupoi, and Sayori Ano, our 2 Cosmic Angel leaders. And then BMI 2000, which is Natsuko Tora, the leader of Hate, and Ruka, also a member of Hate. So those 2 teams are tied at the top of the Red Goddesses block. And we do have our first team to qualify for the playoffs. This year, changing with the World Tag League, 3 teams will progress from each block into the playoffs. And the top seed from each block will get moved to the quarterfinals, while second and third will face off against each other. So we do have our first team to clinch, and that was the Mega Skyscrapers, Megan Bain and Hanako. They reached 10 points. So will they clinch the that first spot? Who knows? But at the very least, there's no way they will not be in the playoffs. So that is cool. And I'm happy that the other teams are in there. Love me some Natsupoi. I think she's great. Cosmic Angels are dope. Yes, and then Marigold, nothing really crazy happened, honestly. Like I really didn't have anything that like I wanted to note there. But technically speaking, that is not the end of the week in wrestling, as we did have the big kahuna, AEW Full Gear. It was a very long show. We were both pooped.
Yeah.
You actually ordered it. Is that? I mean,
Yep.
Is it technically ordering? You would say, yeah. Yeah, you bought it. We don't need to know how I watched it. But we both watched it. I was also fresh off a shift, so I was really like, fuck. But yeah, let's get into AEW Full Gear 2025, which happened this past Saturday. Of course, we had the 0 hour. This one, I'm just kind of skim through on the 0 hour just because it's 0 hour, except for one match that we'll get into. But Austin Gunn and Juice Robinson of Bang Bang Gang, they also had Ace Austin there as well. They defeated the team of Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, Big Bill and Brian Keith, and the Outrunners to win $200,000. Juice Robinson said that they're going to invest it in stocks in his little post-match interview. This one, though, Big Boom AJ, our favorite, and QT Marshall, yes, defeated RPG Vice, which is the team of Rocky Romero and Trent Beretta for you New Japan fans out there. Big thing to note here, Big Justice Diamond Cutter.
Let's fucking 5 out of 5.
Yes, yeah. It wasn't even. It was pretty solid. And like every time I watch Big Boom AJ, I am always surprised that he's actually a quality wrestler. Like,
I'm intrigued every time, man. He works.
It's never like I tune into 0 hour specifically for him.
Likewise,
which I think is the point of it. And of course, the Rizzler was there as well. He's had a big weekend. He met Hasbulla. If you're into the UFC world,
they had a spar and boxing match.
They did. He was beating the Rizzler's ass. It was kind of unfortunate, but yeah, no. Big Justice hit a diamond cutter. Will we see him in wrestling? Who knows? Maybe someday. Probably not anytime. I think he's like 14. 12. So for 12, 14, yeah. So he's probably got a. I don't think they're gonna be like Coco from last week at 15 wrestling. But yeah, we had a squash. Hook and Eddie Kingston defeated the Workhorsemen. Very unfortunate that, because like the Workhorsemen are such a good fucking tag team. Like every time, like when you give them minutes, they are exactly what the name is. They are Workhorsemen. They really do wrestle. So, and I like Hook. Eddie Kingston, I'm kind of like, that's maybe my unpopular wrestling opinion. I'm not a big Eddie Kingston guy. And I think his return hasn't helped, but I'm also not like going to knock him because he came off of a pretty big injury. So it's just a feeling out process. I like Hook a lot though. I'm probably one of like 5 people on the planet that like Hook, but I do like
especially
Hook.
During this show.
Yes. Yeah. That is true. He comes up later. But the one that I want to get into, the final match of 0 hour, which actually went into the pay-per-view. It was the team of Mystico, Mascara Dorada, and Neon defeated Kazuchika Okada, Konosuke Takeshita, and Hechicero to retain the CMLL Trios titles. Why in the hell was this on the pre-show? You have Kazuchika Okada, Takeshita. Those are 2 big match names. And not to discredit any of the CMLL guy. I mean, I guess Hechicero is now a part of AEW, I believe. I think he signed. But Neon, Mystico, and of course, like Mascara Dorada is, oh my God, he is phenomenal. Every time I watch him, I am blown away at how good he is. I honestly wish that they just threw him a boatload of money and were like, come be on the team. Because he is phenomenal, and I unfortunately am not super into CML. Not to mention, by the way, sorry. There were a lot of other things to like. Triple A had an event this week too. It's been quite a busy week, and I believe CML also had an event. But Any thoughts on 0 Hour? And I guess technically it kind of the last match bled into the main show.
Honestly, took the words out of my mouth. I watched it for Big Boom AJ.
Yes.
The at ringside. Big Justice Diamond Cutter was the pop of the pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little bit of a gripe with AEW is that they put the Tailgate Brawl on an entirely separate channel than 0 Hour.
Mm-hmm.
So when you order the pay-per-view on Amazon, you just get 0 Hour. You don't get the matches because you have to tune in on, I think, TNT or HBO Max, which I can understand why they do that. It's kind of like WWE separating things that go on during a show. I really want to watch the Tailgate Brawl, especially if it is like your pre-show matches. Another pay-per-view where AEW bleeds the action in from the 0 Hour to the show, which is always nice because it kind of gives you that feeling that wrestling isn't scripted, so there isn't a timeline on this match. A lot of really cool moves happen during that. A lot of high flying moves. I really like Okada having kind of like internal beef. Like, I'm the best. I'm the best. So back the fuck off. That also leaked into a backstage segment when they announced the Continental Classic and he was going to take part. But other than that, a really solid, what would I call it, like a pre-show match to the actual show. I thought it was a pretty good opener to the pay-per-view.
Yes. I will say, though, again, to kind of express my disbelief, I don't know why this one was on the pre-show. Like, you got the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. I mean, I get New Japan's not, like, crazy right now, but that's still, like, a very lineage respected title there, and you just got him on the pre-show. But actually, you did mention the Continental Classic. I totally skipped on putting this in the show. At the time that we are recording, they have not dropped who's going to be in the blocks. So we know Takeshita, Okada, and Kyle Fletcher. That is who's going to be in. I do want to ask, do you have any predictions on who's going to be in?
I think it's mainly going to be the guys we saw in the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royale deal. I think it's just probably going to be a bleed from that because there was no big surprises in that match when we go to talk about it, other than Matthew, his last name is Drogme, Daniel Garcia's friend.
Matt Menard.
Yeah.
Yes.
that was like the big surprise to the match because Daniel Garcia. But I just genuinely think it's probably just going to be a reflection of that.
Interesting. Okay, that is honestly not what I was expecting. I was kind of thinking more. I at least maybe not predictions, but more so what I want. If you want the Peyton block, here's my dream here. All in one block, I want Takeshita, Shelton Benjamin, Dorada, Shibata, AR Fox. Get me all my favorites. All my hoopers. That's who I just want. One block, just they can even scrap the gold and the blue block. Peyton block, Matt block. That's what we want.
Yes, sir.
That's the dream.
Sir.
That is the dream. But I hope that they, and this is not a knock on like Brody King, Daniel Garcia, Mark Briscoe. I don't want any repeats. I that is probably the one thing that I'm asking for more than anything. Will it happen? I'm not sure, but maybe they might have like one just for like the sake of continuity and lineage or whatever. But well, obviously, okay, Okada would technically, count, but that's not the point. Again, they'll announce that soon. Hopefully, we'll know, and then we can discuss that. It begins this week, so it won't be too long before we know. But anyways, now we kick off into the main show here. The opening match was the Bastard Pack. He defeated Darby Allin. So to tell you the truth with Full Gear, honestly, and this also goes for Survivor Series too, I wasn't super excited for either show. I was very like obviously I'm watching both. But outside of like select like matches, there wasn't anything that I was like, oh my god, like I need to rush home and tune in. And this match was on the surface the primest example of that. I was like I love Pac. Darby Allin, I am not the biggest fan of, to tell you the truth. I'm just kind of like indifferent on him. Like I think he's good, and like I watch the crazy spots, like when he went through the ladder onto the glass and whatever. Like you tune in, for that. But like I'm not chomping at the bit to see him with the title, any title for that matter. Like he's not. I just don't care. But I will absolutely say he put on a clinic in the wrestling department. Like when this was not a match of like crazy spots. Of course he had one. It's a Darby Allin match. He had his wild spots. That's like, why would you do that to yourself? But and like I love how the commentary touches on it. He has like an amateur wrestling background. He was phenomenal. Like I was genuinely like, oh my God, because it's like, why doesn't he do this more? And I hope like not to put like a curse or whatever, or be like, oh, like I can't wait for this to happen or whatever. But when inevitably this style does take a toll on Darby Allin, if he pivots to the wrestling, I think he is going to be a lot more liked in my perspective, at least. Because again, I'm really gassing this up because it was that damn good. He really, like, all the counters, all the mat wrestling, everything. Like I know, I guess the saying is kind of like putting on a technical match in front of an American audience is like reading Shakespeare to a dog, but like that's definitely something that foreign crowds like Europe and Japan appreciate more. But I appreciated it here. But moving away from that, Pac, I love him, love his music, hate his ring gear. I bring out the thighs. Like I don't like the tights. It just looks so honestly. He doesn't even have the worst one. That's the worst part. Daniel Garcia's he wears training clothes. I don't know, man, but no, they killed it. However, the ending I was kind of mixed on, because the way this match was built up was no interferences, and that's how it ended, was with an interference with Death Riders running out. But at the same time, they're heels. That's kind of the point, I guess, is you don't go on your word. But I don't think that took away from the fact that this was some good graps.
I think it was a really enjoyable match, especially to kick off a pay-per-view. Darby, of course, just throwing his body to the outside floor any chance he got was insane. Whether it was setting Pac up on the chair, whether it was a bit earlier than that when he just ate a brutal back bump on the floor, on the concrete. The match really lost my interest towards the end when it kind of just felt like an opener to Dynamite or a Collision. Like even without the interference, which of course added on to it, I think that for the match it was really well executed. I enjoyed it. The ending with the bat to make Pac win, Darby lose, that just really felt straight out of like a weekly Wednesday episode of Dynamite instead of like a pay-per-view blow-off match. But it didn't ruin the overall match for me. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I think that is like really on the money how I'm feeling. But we move on to something a little more enjoyable, lighthearted here. But didn't have any like real implication, kinda. We had the 4-way tag match for the AEW the women's tag match little tournament. There's so many tournaments going on right now, as in November, December fashion here. We had the team of Mina Shirakawa and Toni Storm, the Timeless Love Bombs, who defeated Sky Blue and Julia Hart, Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir, and Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron. So Megan Bayne just back and forth to Japan. But yeah, so they defeated all of them. They were going to face Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir on Wednesday. And the whole like point of this match was whoever won got to pick the stipulation for that match. They also have not announced that as of the time of us recording this now. I can only imagine that Tony and Mina, it's going to be something crazy. On commentary, they were really gassing up this idea of a chicken coop match.
Yeah,
could
heavily.
not could not tell you what the hell that is even gonna ensue. But that honestly might maybe be their move. I don't know why else they would have gassed it up like that. But this match, I don't want to say it was nothing. And like everybody got their time. That in a match like this, that's what I most like hope for, is just like give everybody their time. The winner is usually like pretty obvious on these ones, but just let everybody shine, and they did, which was good. But it wasn't like anything crazy, because it doesn't. I mean, it has an implication for the tournament, like whatever match it is, but it doesn't have like they're not eliminated from the tournament. You know what I mean? So it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, exactly that. It's just a showcase for everybody to kind of come out, showcase their signature hits, their timeless classics, whatever Michael Cole calls them on the WWE side, the vintage moves. I am a big
Yes.
fan of the tag team of Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron, especially because Harley Cameron has such a fun time in the ring, and you can read that off of her. She just wants to consistently entertain, and she consistently wants to be the best. And her teaming with Willow, their theme song is so fun. Their interactions with the crowd is awesome. Sky Blue and Julia Hart are absolutely my favorite of these four tag teams, just because of where they came from in 2020, 2021. AEW to where they are now is so damn cool. But as you said, the winner was obvious from the first ring of the bell. So it was a really good match. I did enjoy it. And now I'm looking forward to Wednesday.
Yes, absolutely. Nothing to take away from them. They all did their part, which was cool. However, this, in my opinion, actually was honestly the match of the night. FTR defeated Brodito to win the AEW Tag Team Championships. My notes are, I shit you not, killer match. FTR are seriously one of the best of all time. Just talk about the match. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. This, oh my God. And it was crazy because, again, like the thing with AEW pay-per-views that I think are a very underrated aspect is when it comes to how they book shows. The con of it is that these shows are really fucking long, which we're gonna learn, especially going down the list. But and they have like all the big time matches at the end, as you naturally do. But the matches that people, I don't want to say don't care about, because like the team of Brodito is really popular, and FTR are one of the best of all time. So like it's obviously going to have some oomph to it, but it's not like this match was crazy hyped. So when it comes to matches like that, and it's just like, the thinking is always like, you always trick yourself into thinking like, okay, they're just going to, push through it, get over it, whatever. 9 out of 10 times, these are the highlight matches. They're the ones that you don't care about. This match was seriously so good. Commentary really gassed up, FTR being one of the best teams of all time. And it's so true. I mean, whether you knew him as the Revival, in those matches with DIY and, all that NXT time.
American Alpha.
Yes, American Alpha. When they obviously come to AEW, they've all the matches with the Young Bucks, whoever else it is. They are seriously stellar. If we ever someday do a top finishers or whatever move or anything like that, the Shatter Machine is on my list.
100%.
The setup of that move, the execution, how it gets the crowd, like that move is so good. And that's obviously how they won. And the team of Brodito was seriously, it was a ton of fun. I think Brody King was in a very tough position following, Buddy Matthews is injured. Aleister Black went back to WWE. Julia Hart has kind of branched out on her own. So Brody was in like this very weird spot of like, what are we going to do with him? So they kind of turn him into like a pseudo like babyface. And they team him with Bandito, who is incredible. Bandito is one of the very best going, probably maybe the best luchador out right now. The only one that I'm like maybe would give a run for his money, just in terms of like how they're presented, right now, like not like an all-time thing necessarily, is Mascara Dorada. Bandito has been on a tear this year, whether it was, the Ring of Honor world title match with Takeshita, Hechicero, even stellar guy. So thinking of it now, it's like, no shit, this match was going to be awesome. But this was the highlight for me. Just the wrestling and the investment in the crowd, and again that Shatter Machine setup. It's really amazing. What did you think of the match, though? Was this your personal match of the night?
This was a stellar match. This was a damn good match, and that's because when FTR is on a card, you can expect a great match.
Yes,
I agree with that sentiment there, where it's kind of like it's the boring match. It's the match you don't really want to watch. It's the one that's kind of like the one you just want to get to the next one at. But every time you see FTR on the card, you just know you are in for something special. There was so many moments of incredibly creative offense. There was so many near falls that were literally the 2.99. I think playing to the advantage of FTR being heels, but being damn good technical wrestlers really helped Rodito kind of like shine. And my favorite thing to look back on is when a title change does happen, I reflect as, does that make the losing team losing the championships like kind of like put, I guess, like a bow on their championship reign? Did they like go all out? Did they show everything? Rodito 1,000,000%. That was a damn good match. It also kept the crowd alive for a lot of the match, which people call FTR boring wrestlers. I challenge all those people to watch any FTR big stakes match, because that crowd, they are not sitting down for 80% of the match.
Yeah, I agree. FTR are definitely, like, I think they also mentioned this like on commentary. They aren't like quite getting the respect that they deserve, which is crazy because, like, again, like as you mentioned, any match they're in usually has the crowd on their feet clapping and cheering. Again, you go back to when they were the Revival with DIY or whoever, American Alpha, or like again Young Bucks, like they're usually the best matches on the card. And yeah, FTR, when it's all said and done, I think they will be, one of the all-time great tag teams. It's old school, new school, perfect blend. Greatness there, and capped off a pretty fun tag team championship reign. But from one title to a debuting title, slight asterisk on that. I'll get into my gripe with that. The Casino Gauntlet, which in 100% honesty, maybe I just wasn't paying attention. Had no idea that this was for the national title. I really did not know. I guess it was always that way. But yeah, so they revealed the national title. It is dead ass a 1-of-1 replica of, I believe, the NWA national title, except for obviously the logo and the belt color. But it looks the exact same. My thinking, I think it's a beautiful belt. Like, I'm not gonna trip on that. And I think that the purpose of the title is wonderful, but you had the international title. What the hell's the difference? And not to mention that title was not only unique, but it was also really beautiful. Like I think that is maybe in my top 5 favorite championship belt like designs of all time. The AEW International belt. I think that is a gorgeous looking one. If they sold the replica, I probably would have bought it. But that doesn't take away from, anything like this. I just kind of wanted to point that out, that I think it's a little silly. But no, this match, so I'm going to read off. I pulled up the Wikipedia page here of all the entrants, and they had the order here. So quick, it was Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, that was the 1 and 2. Ricochet, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, Orange Cassidy, Wheeler Yuta, Kevin Knight, Roderick Strong, Mark Davis, who had a really great show, and I want to shout out him there.
Phenomenal show.
Yes. Speedball Mike Bailey and Daddy Magic Matt Menard. The winner of that, though, was Ricochet. So he's the inaugural national champion. The thinking, I believe, of the title, like how they're advertising it as, is this is going to quite literally be a national title. Like, they are going to defend it. Japan, Mexico, Europe, which was also what they did with the international title. But neither here nor there. I'm very happy for Ricochet. Like battle royals are always a good time. I'm sure we'll learn about this when we get. Well, I guess it's a casino gauntlet. Excuse me. But matches like these are always wonderful, as I'm sure Royal Rumble season will come around and we'll learn there. But yeah, Mark Davis, stellar showing. He was really hooping, which I'm very happy for because Kyle Fletcher obviously is, the guy there. And Mark Davis had a couple unfortunate injury situations. But for him to come out and just really be a stud, because he actually, before Fletcher kind of boomed, like when they were just Aussie Open as is, he was who I was like, that's the standout, is Mark Davis. Like anytime I watched their matches, I was like, he's just a tank who is just fucking things up, and he can fly. Yeah, like he can do everything. Move really good. So when like I was thinking like an inevitable split up would have happened, which actually didn't, maybe probably due to unfortunate injury circumstance. He was who I was expecting to, go on and be the guy. But obviously that didn't happen. But I think honestly, if they really build off of this with him, he could be like a sleeper and rise up to where Kyle Fletcher is at. But I think the biggest thing of this is just good for Ricochet. Really, like he is still to this day, Dragon Gate's been in for that happened so many years ago, and he's still revolutionizing and being, the guy to this day. His heel work now especially that he kind of went away from the whole like grifter Andrew Tate little thing that he was kind of doing on Twitter, and he just kind of just focused on being kind of like a dork who just happens to be really good at wrestling. Perfect. And I'm very happy for Ricochet. I think he more than deserved the title. But of course, what do you think? Was it the correct winner?
I think I knew Ricochet was winning really early in the match based on how he was like the butt of so many moves. Like he was just the consistent like highlight, and he was the guy on the receiving end of so much, whether it was a beatdown, whether it was a numerous moves to him.
Yes.
The corner, when he ran in and did the move on the corner, he was like, I'm with you guys. And they're like, fuck you, Ricochet, you're not with us.
Yes.
I thought that was awesome. My highlight of the match is Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight going at it. They're like reversing and ducking everything they're throwing at each other. That's how you know your tag team partner down to a science.
Yes.
But yeah, Ricochet winning. I thought going in, I was like, Shelton Benjamin would be cool. But during the match, I'm like, oh, this is Ricochet because of how he's being portrayed in this match. I thought it was a really enjoyable match. And then Orange Cassidy having that that 240p Videotron to go with his character.
Beautiful. Yes. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Some days it kind of looks like my camera. But yeah, very, very, very happy for him. Although again, as a Shelton Benjamin truther, that would have been cool too. But okay, in this one, I want to again open the Wikipedia just to make sure I got the correct stipulation. Because I think I wrote no holds barred twice. Like for this and the next match. This one is the no holds barred match. This was Kyle O'Reilly defeating Jon Moxley. I wasn't really into it. I can appreciate Jon Moxley and like the work he's been doing. There's a fucking jet flying over. Sorry.
Jet speed.
Jet speed. There you go. That happens all the time. But I can appreciate what Moxley's doing in this role, especially losing the title. Like, he's kind of doing what I guess Rhea Ripley's kind of now doing, but what she should have been doing, like after losing the title, is he's still in big time feuds, but he doesn't like need the title. You know what I mean? Like him losing the title is kind of a result of where he's going. So I definitely appreciate that. Moxley is one that I've always been super mixed on because, like on the one hand, I don't know. And call me old fashioned or, whatever. I do like death matches and, like the unsanctions and whatever. Like I tune in always. But I also think that there is a point where it gets redundant. If we're using gaming as an example, think a battle royale, live service, whatever. I like it. Like Fortnite's cool, all that, but it gets to a point where it's like, okay, we're on like our 100th Moxley bleed. Even when it's not in death matches, he just bleeds just because. Like it kind of gets a little annoying, but at the same time, Moxley does have a lot of really good matches, and I don't want to take away from that. He is the undisputed ace of AEW, and I think that he is deserving of that. Obviously, Kenny Omega probably would have been my pick, but Moxley, he's always there. He's always willing to do the thing. So I appreciate that. And Kyle O'Reilly, I do also like him as well. Maybe not he's probably like, if we're going Undisputed Era, who we'll see later. I like Adam Cole more, and I like Roderick Strong more. So he's just kind of always been like there for me. But again, he's a very great wrestler. His selling in the match was amazing. Like I actually thought he broke his arm.
Me too.
For a minute there, but yeah, the match itself, like this was around the show when I was kind of starting to be like, I got the AEW length on me, and I was like, please just hurry up,
wrap it
up. yes, wrap it up, please, in big bold letters. But I hope you might have more on this match, because admittedly I did not.
I get tired of seeing a lot of blood in a pay-per-view, because it kind of takes away from like when a wrestler will bleed in the match.
Yeah.
And especially with the match that followed this, the Mark Briscoe, Kyle Fletcher, you knew you were going to expect blood. You knew you were going to expect something. But if you put Moxley on first, blood and John Moxley go together in a match like peanut butter and jam. Like,
yes,
you can't do one without another. My favorite takeaway from this match was Kyle O'Reilly winning, because Kyle O'Reilly, to me, unfortunately, has that Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins effect to me, where he's a tag team wrestler, but he's really good standing alone. Montez Ford is incredible standing alone, but it takes so long to separate him as a singles wrestler. Kyle Fletcher being another example. It took me a little bit of time before he became the proto star, and now I can see him in his own light, with Adam Cole, unfortunately, being sidelined for the foreseeable future. Roderick Strong still by Kyle's side. I really hope this makes Kyle go forward as a strong singles competitor. I've read that this is actually a write-off for Kyle as well. So when he does come back, if that is true, I hope we kind of get maybe a singles title win or a huge program in 2026. Overall, I enjoyed the match. I just know the Death Riders are about to massacre John Moxley and kick him so far out of that group.
He is about to get backdoored like crazy. But you did mention Kyle Fletcher in the next match here. This match was the no disqualification match, so not a no holds barred, but it's kind of essentially the same thing. Mark Briscoe defeated Kyle Fletcher to win the TNT Championship. My thing also with Mark Briscoe is I'm not the biggest fan. I was never. I didn't really watch a lot of the Briscoes. Like when it was Mark and Jay. I was not super familiar with them. They were in New Japan and Ring of Honor, and I did watch those decently, but I just kind of wasn't ever like too focused on them. So unfortunately, Jay passes. Mark is on his own. And they do a nice job of utilizing him still in AEW and making him a semi-important part of it. But even throughout it all, I still am just kind of like, I don't really care, but like I can also see the work that he's put in, like, because that is probably the worst situation you can be in. And he delivered. He deserved the win. Kyle Fletcher, I'm interested where he goes from here. I mean, well, we have kind of a general path. He was upset that Don Callis family just kind of didn't really give a fuck about him because of the whole Takeshita and Okada thing. So he's like, you know what? I'm entering in the Continental Classic. I'm going to win. So that creates a really fun dynamic that I'm actually very much looking forward to. The match itself, though, between Briscoe and Kyle Fletcher, all their matches have delivered. Every single one. I think this was the 6th match.
Yeah.
Great set of matches. I don't think this was my favorite, but it was like maybe second or third. I still think was it the one before this? I think Dynasty maybe that one was probably my favorite. But like they have such a good chemistry. All the spots were amazing. They were logical. It was great action. The blood was appropriate. Like I said earlier, like, you know, not calling me old fashioned, whatever. I do like the blood still. Like I enjoy it when it's logical. This whole match just felt like it made sense, which is crazy because, again, like when it comes down to it, like this was the 6th time that they were wrestling each other, all of which were like within recent distance of each other. Like I was kind of like, okay, let's hurry it up. Let's get over it now. The stipulation was if Briscoe lost, he would have had to join the Don Callis family. That obviously doesn't happen. I'm curious to see where Briscoe goes. I was kind of thinking he might maybe be a transitional champion at first, but then kind of thinking about like who on the roster is going to be up next for the championship. I kind of can't really think of anybody off the top of my head who's like they've been building up to take over that. But Kyle Fletcher, I hope he goes for the world title now, but also wins it. I wouldn't say it's open anymore, as with what we'll see in the main event. But I honestly, had Hangman retained, I think he maybe could have done that in part 2 and won. But I don't know if they're like quite ready to like moonball him yet. But I think he's definitely like where they want him to be as far as like that star power and getting there. But yeah, insane match. I still think FTR and Brodito was probably my favorite match, but this one was easily number 2.
I really enjoyed the match. I think that they, as you said, like everything was logical, everything made sense. I think it had the right amount of brutality with some of their enhanced weapons, like the 6 chairs set up on the outside, the ladders that were just tinfoil being just chucked at each other's heads.
Yes.
There was so many near falls, and I think my favorite was that kind of this could end the match moment was when the buddy Briscoe jumped off the top of the ladder and put Fletcher through the table, and there was thumbtacks under it. If I'm not mistaken, there was a kick out there because the match ended with the Jay Driller.
Yes.
And I enjoy how it took one Jay Driller to win. And that was kind of like what the match was built up upon, was just like, when we hit the Jay Driller, that's going to be 1, 2, 3. He tried it a few times earlier in the match. He didn't get successful with it. But yeah, I thought for a Briscoe match, especially off a recent feud with MJF too, not too long ago, that it was a coming out party for Mark Briscoe. I'm excited to see what he does kind of going into the end of the year and the early next year, but I can't see the title reign being anything past like March or April.
Excuse Jet Speed again. They wanted to drop by for another match. We'll probably be seeing that a lot. I live like directly on a jet like flight path there. But anywho, we had some trios action. I mentioned Josh Alexander earlier. It was him and the Young Bucks who defeated the team of Luchasaurus, Jack Perry, and Kenny Omega to win $1 million. I wonder if it's actually like real in the sense of like they really do get that pay. I highly doubt it, but that also would be kind of cool. I would probably definitely I
would only sign up for those matches.
Yes, I would probably not wrestle any other match. But yeah, after the match, all of Don Callis family attacks Kenny Omega, Luchasaurus, Jack Perry. The Young Bucks are kind of walking on the ramp. They're like, I don't know, this is kind of fucked up, Don. And Don's like, just trust me. Let's just, get on over. But the Young Bucks are like, no, friendship is magic. Run out. Save the guys. Reunite with Kenny Omega. Don Callis is upset. Takes all the money, though. He took all the money. So they're probably not getting that $1 million. So the Young Bucks are still very broke. But the matchup itself was good. It was, I think, especially coming off of the Briscoe match, this is where I was like, oh my god. Like now we're getting into I am ready to take a slumber. Josh Alexander had a pretty good showing here. I'm sure that made you quite happy.
Yes, sir.
And the elite, Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, that was along with Black and Gold NXT, were definitely kind of what reignited my love for wrestling at a time period where I was kind of like, I don't even know if I want to keep watching. But being the elite and all that. So I'm always going to have a soft spot for the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega is essentially what I'm getting at. And Luchasaurus and Jack Perry also, did their thing too. No slouches in that department. It was a good match. Just kind of, this is where it started to set in of like, oh my God, please wrap it up.
Yeah,
but
I don't have too much to say about this match wholeheartedly. The writing was on the wall to how it was going to end. You have Young Bucks going for the biggest prize pool of all the matches they fought for so far, but you also have an opposing Kenny Omega on the other team, which the Elite has like 500 chapters in their book alone. You kind of knew, was it going to be friendship over money? Of course it was. Huge showing for Josh Alexander. He really took this 6-man match to really showcase what he's all about. I really hope Josh Alexander is the number one contender for Mark Briscoe's title, because I think that's a match made in heaven. Yeah. I would absolutely love that to be the case. But yeah, as the match ended, you kind of knew what was going on. I do enjoy that the BTE trigger was hit on Kenny, because that's what they hesitated on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, the Young Bucks, the Elite, Kenny Omega Chapter 501 is currently being written before our eyes.
Yes. Good mention of Josh Alexander in the TNT title. I honestly didn't think about it, because Alexander, he when he became a free agent, I was under the impression he was going to WWE. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Me too.
I kind of thought that was the case. He went to AEW, and it hasn't. I don't think it's really clicked. Like even like when they were doing the entrances for this match, the audience was kind of like muted, which was unfortunate, because Josh Alexander is phenomenal. I mean, he was world champion not too long ago, and you obviously
in TNA,
yeah, probably better than anybody the level of like Josh Alexander. And then to mention, Ethan Page doing career work in NXT, and putting him in Don Callis family, which is I really like the idea of Don Callis family. It makes me laugh, just this giant ass group of people. But you have Okada, Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher. That's the core three, the big bucks there. You have guys who are emerging like Hechicero. Josh Alexander was kind of in this like uncomfortable spot of like, what are we even doing with him? I felt like he was just kind of like, he was kind of there, but he was still too fresh to just have him lose all the time. But he really, between what happened on Dynamite and now, I'm hoping this is the start of what is really gonna kick off for him. However, this match, unless you have any other notion there,
all good.
Chris Statlander defeated Mercedes Moné to retain the AEW Women's World Championship. This match was very interesting to me. For one, Chris's entrance was dope. The fucking Dragon Ball,
the rocket,
the rocket coming down. That was way neat. Mercedes entrances are always great. I adore both of these women to death. They are two of my favorites. I was kind of getting scared at the start of the match, because the pacing, I don't know if I was just that AEW tiredness was starting to get to me, where I didn't even know what I was watching. it felt like they got their time cut. Like they were wrestling like they were just like hitting the big moves and you know it was going to set up a quick finish, and I was like, oh my god, what? And the crowd was super dead too. So I was very nervous, which was unfortunate because this was probably the match I was most looking forward to. I loved all their previous matches together, but they brought it back. Actually, it was around like maybe 60-75% of the way through. Excuse me. They brought it back. The crowd started to get into it. I don't know if they maybe went over on their time because they weren't going to take that, or maybe this was kind of the plan all along to structure it. I think I prefer their other matches. I did really like one specific spot. I feel like I don't like mention spots as often. I loved when now it was Chris Statlander who was sitting in the ring. They were doing the 10 count, and at 9, Mercedes runs in. And you know, but they fucked it up because the camera didn't like put it on that shot until she was already in the ring.
Yeah.
So like it kind of like it was still a really cool moment, and you know the crowd liked it. But I was like, cameraman, what the fuck? But yeah, no. Chris winning is good. The story that they're subtly telling, but I think is like the main point of Mercedes is she for some reason just can't capture the big ones, so she's like kind of getting these lesser, and I put that with quotations on it, championships to kind of like boost herself up, and then like when she loses it all, it's going to be like a whole spiral, and it's going to be really awesome. I think that story is great, and undoubtedly she's the best women's wrestler. Well, she's top 5 for sure, top 3. Best. I think Saya Kamatani's Stardom has the edge this year, just for like how much she has done for Stardom. But that's kind of a whole other conversation. But Mercedes is obviously not very far behind because she is just spectacular. And yeah, I like that they kept Chris strong. I just really hope they don't do another Toni Storm match. I'm kind of like tired of her in the women's world title spot. I would rather her, even if she wins the tag tournament, which I kind of feel like they're gonna do, that's fine. I just want her to kind of just stay away from that for a bit. But then that kind of puts it in a spot of I'm not too sure who Chris Statlander is going to face. Maybe Marina Shafir, maybe Megan Bayne. Like I think there are options. They just kind of got to build. That Athena would be great. But yeah, did you feel like this match lived up to the hype per se of the previous encounters?
I regret to inform the Section 103 listeners, and this is for no gripe other than AEW fatigue during a pay-per-view. I was not as tuned into this match as I would like to have been, which is unfortunate because it was one of my most anticipated matches of the show.
Yes.
There was just that point on like the 4.5 hour mark where I'm like, I gotta stretch my legs. I gotta do something. I did get to see a lot of like the big moments. I got to see that 10 count spot you were talking about. Statlander with the Bailey to Belly was also a really nice homage because they've been loving each other on social media as of late. I think Mercedes is playing the Ultimate Monet character really well. I think it's a really fun story because, as you said, she's winning all the titles, but she just can't win the one that would solidify her as the best champion and the greatest champion of all time. I think going forward for Mercedes Moné, I think she needs to capture more titles just to build like that. Oh my God, what do you mean another one?
Yeah.
Because the more titles you give her, the more she has to lose, which means the spiral gets worse. I wonder if it's going to be like a Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle from TNA 2007, where she's defending multiple championships at once to get them off her. But that is for way later down the line when she loses them. I love it. I love Chris Statlander. Every time I tell someone about Chris Statlander, I'm like, you know, she used to be an alien, and they don't really get it. And I'm like, you're not a wrestling fan. But for what I did see, it was an enjoyable match. I just can't give it my honest opinion until I watch it through.
Yeah, no, for sure. God, that fatigue it sets in, and it set in no other than this match. So to tell you the truth, when the show happened live, I watched this. I went on my bed. That's right behind me. I did my infamous. I'm just gonna rest my eyes for 5 minutes, and then I took a nice nap.
Yes, sir.
So I did not watch the initial what the hell am I thinking? The Samoa Joe Hangman Adam Page Steel Cage. That's the match here. I did not initially see it. Just beat a third time. Oh my god. Yeah. So I woke up, whatever, rewatched it. So I also didn't see the Swerve return. Unfortunately, I didn't see that live. I'm sure that would have been even better. But the match itself wasn't too crazy. And that's definitely not a knock on either Samoa Joe or Adam Page because they are both stellar. Hangman came out to, I believe, a Red Dead Redemption song. I have never played the game, but great for people who have. I'm a GTA guy myself, personally, but Samoa Joe is Samoa Joe. Like, you can be disappointed, which I admittedly a little am, of, they didn't really... Tony Khan, I guess, just maybe isn't really seeing Adam Page as, like, the top guy, which makes no sense, because, like, I think how they book him is, like, to leading up to winning the title is, like, he's, he is the guy. Like, AEW is his story, and then his title reigns happen, and, like, the only match I remember of both his title reigns was the Kyle Fletcher match. If I'm being 100% honest with you. I mean, he had the CM Punk match too, but, I think AEW wants you to forget about that. But the match, the climax of it, Samoa Joe, right? So, yeah, you can be disappointed with that, but Samoa Joe is just such a stud, and he, like, you can put any title on him, and he's gonna do the job. It's Samoa Joe. At the end of the day, you can't really be that disappointed because you're gonna get quality. The image of him spitting out blood was awesome.
With the title on his shoulder, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, even though, again, blood was a pretty big theme of this show tonight, honestly. I think damn near every match had it. But yeah, it wasn't too crazy a match. It sets up the end. Hook turned heel. I put that in quotation marks because he never really, I guess, left the ops. He just kind of like went and did his own thing for a bit, and then, back now.
Fully
how
aligned.
that dynamic, yeah, with him and Eddie Kingston, not too sure how that'll go. Again, I like Hook. It seems the consensus is online. A lot of people don't like him. I am not too sure why. I think he is pretty good. But the big match here, or the big moment, is at the end. None other than Swerve Strickland coming back. Shane Strickland. He made his return. He looked insane. Like, he looked huge. And he is presumably going for that world title. He aligned kind of, I guess, with Adam Page. So yeah, we kind of know our general path for AEW for the coming month. I imagine this will probably be Swerve Joe at World's End.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So unless for some reason either Swerve or Hangman are in the Continental Classic, I don't really believe they are. I think they have that story being between Okada, Takeshita, and Kyle Fletcher. But I could also totally be wrong. But yeah, any thoughts here on not only the closing of Full Gear, but Full Gear as a whole?
The match, the main event, was a short main event, which was very welcomed in my household, as it was almost 12:30 in the morning.
Yes.
But I do enjoy how both the Samoa Joe AEW World Championship wins have been by surprise when he beat MJF. Nobody was expecting it. Nobody was expecting him to beat Hangman here But once I saw Hook wearing an orange jacket, I said, for fuck's sakes, because I knew that what he was hiding under that shirt. Swerve coming back was pretty neat. He switched up his theme song. I do enjoy when somebody comes back and they have a different theme song, just because it kind of like puts a new chapter of who they are as like their character, unless it's like an iconic like John Cena, Roman Reigns for the 1 millionth time. But Swerve Strickland having a new theme song, very welcomed. I don't know if I'm going to tune into AEW much for the next month and a bit. Like, I'll definitely catch up where I want to watch it. I don't think I'm going to fully tune in, but maybe come World's End, I'll tell you that I've never been so hooked to AEW. But for a really good show, it was a deflating ending. So out of 5, I would say it's about like a 3.5 out of 5 for me. My favorite match of the night, honestly, has to be let me actually see. FTR and Bandito. And then my least favorite, just to lack of everything else going on, Pac and Darby Allin.
Okay. For sure. I'm kind of in the same boat in the sense of how I felt about this show. I feel like it, I can't say I won't be watching, just mainly because that's how we get the week in wrestling going there. But also, Continental Classic has been a really great tournament both years, so I expect no different to this one. I'm excited. I just really hope that they have a good lineup. I don't see why they won't, but you never know. So I am excited to see that aspect of it, where it goes in the coming months. World's End is usually always a good pay-per-view. It's kind of one of them ones where it's like you don't expect much of it, but then like they just end up blowing it up. So yeah, I'm excited in that aspect. As far as Full Gear though, it was good the first half, and then it kind of just took a nosedive. Just again, I really think the length is the problem with these shows. I don't ever see it changing. Maybe I just need to just suck it up and have some energy drinks or whatever. I don't drink them, but that might be the move to fix it. But no doubt that you got your money's worth. I
Correct.
think
I'll agree with that.
I think paying for a show is much more satisfactory in this aspect. As far as my favorite goes, I think again FTR Bandito was stellar. Least favorite, I think I'll probably give to the main event. I think we'll go there. Well, no, Kyle O'Reilly, John Moxley, just because it was kind of a nothing burger. You can put one of those two in there, swap it. However, this is not the end of our show, as now we get onto our show coverage. This was my choice this week, but before I kind of get into what made me want to choose the show, I want to send it back to Matt here to kind of go over what it is that we are reviewing.
This week, we are covering our favorite time period of NXT, the Black and Gold. We are covering New Orleans TakeOver from 2018, which, goddamn, what a time of wrestling. It had a pretty stacked WrestleMania card on paper before the show actually happened. So to know that this show not only saved WrestleMania weekend, but is heavily regarded as one of the greatest wrestling shows of all time, I'm very excited. NXT was held on Friday, April 7th in New Orleans, Louisiana at the Smoothie King Center. The reported attendance was 13,955 WWE Universe members, and the theme songs for the event were It Follows and Lord of Flies, both by the band Cane Hill, this was a part of NXT's hashtag NXT Loud initiative. But before we get loud about the show, yes, sir.
Wow, okay, I remember that. Wow.
That was Triple H at his best, bringing kind of like the old school early 2000s rock to a brand that he fully oversaw. But why this show, my friend? Why did you choose NXT New Orleans 2018?
Yes. So I sort of mentioned like the driving force behind it in last week's episode. If you did not see the tail end of it, for me, when I was thinking of like what do we really want to kick off this podcast, this new journey of us going on here, Could I have done a little bit of a troll? Could I have gone like way old school? What was it that I wanted to really set it off with? But I was like, you know what? What more obvious than to just hit with a bang immediately and go with start with my favorite. Maybe that might kind of dampen lesson shows in the future. I don't know, probably not. But my thinking was if we're gonna start off, just unload the clip immediately. So this is, in my personal opinion, my favorite. I think the best of all time, the best wrestling show, start to finish, that is out there to watch. It just, again, start to finish was nothing but quality. The pacing is perfect. It comes at a time in my life where I was very like, I look back at this time very fondly. This is April 2018, so Avengers Infinity War was just out. That movie and just the hype around it. Fortnite was peak if you're a little gamer. The Thanos event and whatnot, season 3 and 4. I was in school and I actually enjoyed it. I was entering in Smash tournaments. I used to be a little competitive Smash player, fun Peyton lore there. I was streaming, like just the time in my life was very it's very nostalgic, and this show I think kind of encapsulates what was good about that time for me. So yeah, that is why I chose it on a personal standpoint. But if you would do the honors and kick us off with the opening match.
The opening match was one that I honestly go back and watch semi-frequently, maybe once to twice a year. It is the 6-way ladder match for the debuting NXT North American Championship. We see EC3, we see Killian Dane, Velveteen Dream, Lars Sullivan, Adam Cole, and Ricochet. And last week, side note, I was complimented on how I covered Survivor Series, of play-by-play, mixed with thoughts. I was very self-conscious of it because I was writing it as I went. So you already know I'm going to go through exactly how the match went.
Yes.
So as I mentioned previously, what a time to be alive and what a time to be a part of the WWE Universe. That sounds like no more ass kissing than I'll ever do again on this show. But genuinely, it was such a good show. I remember watching this match live when it happened, and looking back at it, it makes me feel some kind of way because seeing where everybody is now, especially this being Ricochet's showcase for NXT, it's his debut. It really put that superhero behind the character because at the time we had a roster of flippy guys, we had a roster of high flying guys, but we did not have a roster that showcased the Ricochet. And you had 5 of the best guys on there really helping Ricochet shine. You had your big men with Killian Dane and Lars Sullivan. There was an amazing spot at the beginning of the match where Ricochet hits a springboard shooting star press onto the outside of these men, and it really showed you this is exactly who you're going to have on your roster for this foreseeable future. There was a Killian Dane suicide dive. So if you thought Ricochet doing a flip was crazy, we had Killian Dane do an absolute suicide dive. And then Lars Sullivan threw this ladder into the ring, and I've never put my toes into each other more hard than I did because the sound of that ladder meeting flesh was disgusting. It takes 4 men to complete a sunset flip powerbomb on Lars Sullivan, which I always love in like elimination chambers and multi-men matches where you just take out the big guy. Like Big Show's usually the culprit there, and this one was Lars and Killian. EC3 Bebe got a really good pop out of me because like you have a heel going up against another heel. They're both very arrogant, but you always will know that Adam Cole will always win the crowd over with his signature Adam Cole Bebe. Really great moment in that match. A sad moment in that match was not at the time, but the years to follow. Velveteen Dream. We don't have to talk about it. We've talked about it before off camera. I'm sure the WWE Universe and wrestling fans have talked about it. What if? Like Velveteen Dream is one of the biggest what ifs in wrestling. He performed incredible in this match. He was from 2015's Tough Enough. I enjoyed his showing in this match. EC3 and Adam Cole really gave me the who's going to win.
Yeah.
Ricochet flew from the outside of the ring after being pushed off a ladder. He landed on the man on the outside. The crowd yelled, "Holy shit," just like how I yelled, "Holy shit," from my computer chair. And then the ending of the match kind of got a little bit weird. I'm not going to go through it, but essentially you saw Adam Cole climb the ladder. He retrieved the NXT North American Championship. That was one of my favorite opening matches of all pay-per-views. What did you think?
I am in the exact same headspace as you are there. I think this is one of my favorite opening matches of all time. Potentially even my favorite opening. Like I'd really have to sit on think on that because I have seen quite a bit of wrestling, but it's for sure up there. I'm kind of in your same boat of where I mentioned I don't really watch too much like previous wrestling, but this show is another reason why I chose it. This is one that I watch pretty often. Yeah, I think also like you, it's very interesting to see where everyone is now. The notion of this match is like it's some kind of curse in the way that everybody's career has gone. Lars Sullivan said some things again, as you mentioned. Velveteen Dream was going to be the next guy. Supposedly, kind of threw that in the toilet. Loved his theme song, just like that again. Everything very unfortunate. Killian Dane, I'm not sure where he's at now wrestling. I think he got released again or something. I'm honestly, again, I'm not fully sure what he's up to now. I remember he was Big Damo. That what culture wrestling?
Yes, sir.
You know about that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the EC3. He was a guy I was super interested in. Like I loved his character. I didn't watch TNA. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was pretty much almost always a WWE kid. Like I played the video game TNA Impact. I had that, and like I think I had a DVD with like 3 matches on it, and just here and there I'd kind of see things. But EC3, like he was just such a douche. I really loved it. Like that, one of my favorite tropes, if you can believe it, in like wrestling, is the cocky like rich dude. Like I mean Ted DiBiase Jr., EC3, like just the I don't know. I don't know why I like it. Because it seems a lot of people don't. But it's just something I usually look at kind of fondly. I don't know why I like it. The last thing I remember him doing was the control your narrative thing, and oh my god, I don't I don't think he's
when are we covering one of those shows?
Oh my god, we could. Yeah, that should have been my first show. That should have been what I started off with. That would have been Control Your Narrative 1. That should have been what we gone with. Maybe next time we can get there. But yeah, no, I don't think anybody in fairness can really do that gimmick, but certainly not him. It's kind of a little cringe. Adam Cole, I'd say, is not fair to critique here. He would go on to be one of, if not the best NXT superstar they've ever made. The world title, this North American run, all the classic feuds and moments. He's had pretty good success in AEW. Again, unfortunately, the injury at the time, the way it's looking right now, he might not be coming back to the ring. We hope that's not the case, because he is one of the best, and obviously not to mention the work in Ring of Honor, Bullet Club. That's where I actually first knew of him. He was one of the guys that I knew of before they jumped to NXT, which was pretty cool, as I was a big Bullet Club little mark. But of all the people in this match, the guy who stands out the most, he's still kicking ass today, as we learned not too long ago, and he did make his WWE debut here. It was none other than Ricochet. My history with Ricochet, I was familiar with him in PWG. Around this time, I was being a cool wrestling fan, if you will. The marquee, kind of guy. That was where I was at. It is a lot of cool shit. I'm not going front. It is. Those are times I look back at very fondly. And yeah, his work in PWG, especially like facing guys like the Young Bucks, whatever, it was awesome. And like I knew him in New Japan a bit. Dragon Gate, he like again, like kind of how I was mentioning like with Ricochet, he's gonna be a guy that like people look back on when he eventually hangs it up. And like he really reinvented a lot of what wrestling we see now. Like, I mean, you know, even with like the indie style, whatever, with like PWG or like the Black and Gold NXT, AEW now, Ricochet and Dragon Gate, that's really where it kind of started out with, you know, Tozawa and all of them. So this was my real like first taste with Ricochet though, and he was stellar. You mentioned it. He just came off as a superhero. He was really like just out of this world. You know, the ladder, the rope, and hitting the swan, like incredible. That one thing I do miss of Ricochet in WWE was his yearly annual push to be in the Money in the Bank match, and then he always was the highlight. That I do miss. I won't lie to you there. But everybody had their time to shine, as you mentioned, with your kind of like play by play there. The big men spots. Even if honestly Lars, this was probably his best match. I think Lars Sullivan
by far.
Not that he really had much of like matches to go off of, honestly, but this is where he actually like looked like, okay, like, I kind of get what they're going for. Like the big dynamics, all the big spots, everyone really got their moments to shine. The correct winner, I think, was Adam Cole. It's funny you mentioned, like you were like, oh, it's between Adam Cole and EC3. When I watched this match, I honestly was in the complete opposite direction. I thought they were going to give it to Velveteen Dream at the time. I remember that. Because I was definitely also helped that I was a really big fan of him at that time, as most people were. But yeah, I thought that they were gonna give it to him immediately, which I guess in retrospect makes no sense because that was kind of like when he just like I'm pretty sure he had the match with Aleister Black, if I'm not mistaken. Then it was this one that followed, I think.
I believe so.
Or like it pretty close after. So in retrospect, that kind of would have made no sense. But he didn't have quite like a Kyle Fletcher-esque like push to, you know, the moon. But none of this takes away from this being one of my favorite openers of all time. You know, you can look at the so-called curse of the match or whatever, or, you know, how everyone has gone in life. But this is one of the most fun matches you can have, and it kicked off stellar show. It actually also got 5 star. If you care about star ratings, they're not as good as the Section 103 ratings per se, but this match did get 5 stars from Dave Meltzer, if that's your vote.
And that at the time was a rare thing to get from an actual 5-star rater like Dave Meltzer. Oh God. But from an incredible opener to probably a sleeper on a few people's list, kind of maybe in like the FTR realm where you weren't expecting much, was this next match. It is Shayna Baszler versus the NXT Women's Champion Ember Moon. I remember at the time, I can fully admit it, I've grown up since then. I was not excited for this match. But the video package alone had me very excited for the match. It showed the rematch from their previous encounter in Philadelphia, where Ember Moon got away with the victory, only for Shayna Baszler to really get into her bag of being a vicious, no-holds-barred heel against Ember. It showed a package of Shayna and Ember just going through an absolute... what would I say, like a reign of terror against the NXT Women's roster. Then I just also forgot how good Ember Moon's NXT theme song was. Oh my God. And it was performed live for this show, which was even greater. Right. Oh, brother, I absolutely love just the beginning, and they're not even in the ring yet. Highlights for me personally in the ring, where Moon has a flying code breaker, which could be anybody's finisher. I wish it was Ember Moon's finisher, but I can understand why the Eclipse might be a way more appealing move, because that thing's a thing of beauty. There's a lot of hard hitting moves that you can really tell boots, elbows, and hands are hitting the gear to really sell that arena echo effect. The crowd's heavily invested from the beginning. Shayna Baszler was able to counter any counter towards her into a really creative submission. There was a few times early in the match where I thought the match was going to be over. Ember hits this eclipse to the outside, and I did one of those things where you cross your arm, you're like, holy shit. And I was just like, wow, okay. That eclipse to the outside was definitely my highlight of the match. I think I wrote it all in caps in my notes here. Then a little bit later, the way Shayna Baszler would stomp on somebody's arm bent in an awkward position to break it.
Classic.
Ember hit that with Shayna in the match. It was fucking gnarly. The Eclipse turned into the Karabuta clutch near the end of the match. And then the ending of the match came from a hope spot where you're like, Ember's going to break out of this. We have 10 more minutes in the tank. We're going to go. Ember Moon lost the title. Shayna Baszler's, I believe, NXT Women's Championship longest reign happens right here. And holy crap, what an incredible match. Definitely was a sleeper match for me. And right now, it's my favorite match of the night so far. What about you?
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you said match of the night, because that, really, a stellar match there. You how WWE bills it is, the start of the women's revolution came from Charlotte, Sasha, and Bayley, which, fair, true. They did a lot, obviously. But I think when we first really got a taste of okay, the women in this company now are starting to get at the same level of the men, if not surpassing them, came from both Asuka and Shayna. Specifically in this case, it would be Shayna Baszler. I think they really paved forth the way of must-see women's wrestling in America. Obviously, Japan, we cover Stardom and all that. Although that was, still in its early days there. But Black and again, I kind of mentioned it earlier, being the cool wrestling fan, being a little mark, and that's the term. And my Bullet Club shirts, I had a few. I had 4, I think. I was being on Twitter, getting cool brownie points, whatever. So when you get to that point, you kind of move away from the looking at it essentially as it's real. That's always the common thing with wrestling. The last heel that I was really God fucking damn, I hate you. Actually was Bobby Roode in NXT. But on the flip side, the first heel that I was they're so badass, they're cool, that cool wrestling fan was Shayna Baszler, and she was. I don't think that I'm wrong in saying that. I think being cool had its moments of good there, because this reign was stellar. I think that the style of MMA or anything like that into wrestling, it should be a lot more natural than it is, because when you really think about who's really transitioned from the world of just combat and actual wrestling, whatever it is, to professional wrestling, sports entertainment, the list isn't that much, but I would say Shayna is at the very top of being the best at it. She was a natural. It helped that she had wrestled a little bit before this, she was in Stardom, wrestling there before NXT. So, and she had always been a fan, but her work is incredible. This was, the reigns of dominance here, with the world title there. But they had amazing chemistry. Ember Moon and Shayna Baszler, they were really good together. I know they had a few matches. Shayna was one of the most believable wrestlers, regardless of gender. I think a lot of that was with the UFC background. Things like you mentioned with the arm, thing that she would do, finger submissions. She was a beast. I do honestly really miss watching her wrestle. I know she still like is wrestling today. But at the level like that she was at in NXT, because she was a killer. But yeah, I do enjoy, and kind of touch on what you were saying. I really enjoy Ember Moon's work nowadays as Athena. I think she's really in her stride, especially being the forever champion. But I cannot deny that the Ember Moon aesthetic was like chef's kiss. The music, the eye contacts, the look. She was awesome. And of course the Eclipse always gets me. The Codebreaker is fire too, for sure. But yeah, really good match with a lot of fun counters on both sides there.
I'm gonna go through this next match a little bit faster, not only just to kind of like speed up to get to the later half of the show, but just genuinely because it wasn't like a match you need to go rewatch over and over again. But it is the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic plus the NXT Tag Championships.
Yes.
You have your Undisputed Era with the makeshift team of Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong with the authors of Pain. I had a big sense of nostalgia in this match because you think of your NXT champs like not champs, but NXT tag teams like the Street Profits, the AOP, Birch and Lorcan, Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong, Undisputed Era, just to name a few. But I want to say everybody in this match really did shine, and especially with the build-up being, it was actually the Dusty Rhodes final. We're going to be on an episode of NXT.
Yes.
Undisputed Era get involved. William Regal said, you know what? You've just made this a 3-way tag team match where Adam Cole does pull double duty because Bobby Fish injured himself just a little bit short while ago. They panned to Jeff Jarrett and Dustin Rhodes in the crowd at the beginning. Only if we knew what was a year away. If we knew what was a year away. Kyle O'Reilly in NXT is probably a lot of people's favorite tag team wrestler because of the way he can make his opponents just seem like $1 million that the Young Bucks can maybe win in a tag team match. Adam Cole pulling double duty was kind of like pulling single duty because they put him through a table and that was it. There was no more Adam Cole for the remainder of this match. Kyle O'Reilly does a hope spot where he gets up, he's like, and nothing comes of it. He falls out of the ring. Classic Kyle O'Reilly. I put it up there with him playing the guitar on the NXT Tag Team Championship. There's a lot of cool sequences to where Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong are getting offense, but AOP is also proving why they could be the next NXT Tag Champions and Dusty Rhodes Classic winners. Pete Dunne, I've seen him wrestle a handful of times here in Toronto back in 2019 for Battle Arts Pro and Destiny Wrestling. Such a fucking unbelievably amazing talent. Yes. Pete Dunne is so good. I do enjoy current day. He is a producer because he just has a brain like no other. I enjoy all of his finger-based submissions where he wants to like snap your fingers and really inflict pain. The crowd was very loud when the ending of the match came because we saw what was going to be a win. Pete Dunne was going to win it for his team. But Roderick Strong, this was Roderick Strong's first day in the Undisputed Era because he turned on Pete Dunne not only to win the NXT Tag Team Championships, but to also join the Undisputed Era and take home the Dusty Rhodes Memorial Cup. It was a really great tag team match. I said I was going to speed through it, but as I talked about it, I just wanted to keep talking about it.
Yes.
But what a sight to see. What did you think of this 3-way tag match?
Yes, I'm in a similar boat of speeding, not because of time constraint or anything like that. And not to discredit the match because I think it was a great match as well. But the focus of this match, the thing to take away from it is this is the start of the best version of Undisputed Era. Not to disrespect Bobby Fish, despite his career path like in latter years. He was still great then, but the NXT team of Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong was special. That honestly, I think, was every takeover that occurred post this thing here. Their tag matches were always what I looked forward to. I especially going back to some Blue Gear earlier. I looked fondly. They had a black, blue and like white gear. I forget. It was either the match in Mustache Mountain or the Danny Burke. That match is, well, I'll get there in a future podcast episode. I've already had, that was one of my options actually, was that show. But I look fondly on it. I think they were such a good team. And this was the start of it here, technically. Authors of Pain back in the day, they were studs. They had already been champions. They had beat Gargano and Ciampa. And again, as you mentioned, how can you not love Pete Dunne, especially back then? This was NXT UK times. This is when that was taking shape. He was pretty young. Then, not that he's like super like ancient or anything like that, but especially kind of seeing him, seeing him nowadays be more a producer, which I think is great for him, especially if he's happy. As much as I would like to see him in the ring, because as you mentioned, he is stellar talent. But yeah, I have a lot of fun memories with this one. This was Adam Cole's second match of the night, as you mentioned, something we don't really see often in WWE. Wrestlers pulling double duty usually. And it was in an unusual format, being like a 3-way tag match, something we don't necessarily see. Topped off with Roderick Strong. My highlight is Roderick Strong. He is one of the very best wrestlers in the world, and all you really need to do is just watch him in the ring, even in this match. He has almost like a Rey Mysterio-esque level of longevity and, like, his quick, sharp movement. He moves just as fast as he did when he was first in Ring of Honor. He still moves like this now. And not to mention, kind of like maybe an underrated, like not technically, but feels that in this aspect. This was for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic and the tag titles, which Undisputed Era retained those and then won the Dusty Rhodes Classic as a result of this. Stellar stuff there.
And I think when we look forward to any NXT shows that happen in present day, just to see an NXT pay-per-view maybe even come close to this show from 2018, I'm always looking forward to, because I want to see today's NXT stars compete with the stars of yesteryear. I know it's possible. NXT has an incredible roster, but this tag match was a really strong tag match. Next, we move on to one of our two co-main events. This is Andrade and Aleister Black for the NXT Championship. This was when Andrade was doing, I want to say, arguably his best work as a very big, solidified champion who was just who was perceived by a threat in any aspect. The pairing with Zelina Vega was really strong. Zelina Vega really gave Andrade that extra oomph you needed, because Andrade was kind of slipping through the cracks there. I love my NXT Aleister Black. Everything about him I really enjoyed. I'm also a really big fan of when video packages give credit to each other's opponents, because for those who don't know, the whole point of a wrestling show, the whole point of a wrestling rivalry is no matter how much you want to hate your opponent, you still want to build them up to be a credible challenger, to be a credible foe. And Aleister Black and Andrade did nothing less than amazing with it. They brought it to a whole new level with their feud. There was parking lot brawls. There was Andrade trying to drown Aleister Black in a fish tank of sorts, a cooler. So the crowd was fully invested, not only in this matchup, but what was only around the corner of Aleister Black becoming the NXT champion. The beginning of the match was really intense. There, just like the Ember Moon and Shayna Baszler match, there was a lot of heavy, hard-hitting matches, but Aleister's known to work with his feet, so you already know all the kicks and even all the slaps are very loud. A lot of the match was spent outside on the earlier in the match, which I thought was an interesting call. I thought that Andrade was going to play to the advantage of having ring ropes with him. Zelina Vega gets one of her first of many spots in this match, hitting a Hurricanrana to Aleister Black into the steel steps. Big pop from the crowd, big pop from me in my computer desk. Andrade gets some nasty offense as that. Well, he hit some nice, and I mean some nice strikes. I miss Andrade on my television. I thought I didn't, but I do. A flying knee counter from Andrade shifts the momentum to Aleister, followed by a series of knee strikes and boots. There was this beautiful sunset flip powerbomb reversed by Andrade, and I was just like, I need this match to actually main event. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano can have their own pay-per-view, back and forth exchange through the rest of the match, as I've just been saying. And then there was a nasty, and I mean a nasty, double stomp to Aleister Black, followed up by a corner Meteora. But the Meteora into the ring post is my holy shit move of the night, because Aleister Black just absolutely ate that ring post with the back of his head. Andrade's hammerlock DDT, I thought was the ending of the match. I forgot this were Aleister Black was crowned as the NXT champion.
Yes.
And then the ending of the match was so awesome because Zelina gets involved for the third time. She's looking to target Aleister. Aleister says nope. Zelina gets caught by Andrade, which leads to Black Mass and NXT champion Aleister Black.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think?
Yes, so honestly, I did very much like this match. But this one maybe was my only weak, and I say that with very heavy quotations because I think the match was stellar. Any other pay-per-view, this would have been top of the match, top of the card there. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I was a massive Andrade fan. I am on your same page of this was probably my favorite version of him. La Sombra was awesome too. But yeah, I was very disappointed when he lost the match. I remember that back then, because he was coming off of potentially my favorite match of all time versus Johnny Gargano, the takeover for the title there. So I was expecting a nice lengthy Andrade run, and then he lost. I remember being very upset back then. Looking back at it now, I still kind of wish Andrade would have won. But at the very least now I can appreciate the quality of match here. This was a match that, like, every time I see the show, I'm like, oh, I totally forgot that was on the show. Which doesn't, like, mean, like, again, I don't like the match or whatever. It just kind of shows the quality of the program here. And then looking back at it, it's like, oh my God, this match was ridiculous. The match was very great. All the points that you mentioned, I agree with. And all the awesome spots. It was a nasty match, but it was great in all the best ways. It makes me miss Zelina and Andrade as a pairing. They were just banked together. She's with Aleister Black now. So, we're going to see more great manager work from her there. I think she's a good wrestler, but undoubtedly, when she's on that microphone, she's untouchable. And I'm sure this match definitely meant a lot to her. Both, she was really good friends with Andrade, and obviously, break the fourth wall. She's married to Aleister Black. But yeah, this one is probably on the weaker, in quotations, part of the show for me.
Okay. Now we're going to head over to the main event with that actually. This main event, and maybe it's because I'm not as drawn to Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano as opponents as I like them better as a tag team. But we're getting to our main event, which is Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano. If Johnny wins the match, he's reinstated on the NXT roster. But if he loses, he can say goodbye to NXT and be on the waiting list for AEW to be a thing the following year. Just like the previous matches, this is another incredible video package. The reason that they want the fans to really be invested into this is because this goes past two guys trying to prove who's the best. This goes into two brothers, not actually blood brothers, but two guys who came up together through WWE. You have the Cruiserweight Classic days. You have their beginnings as DIY when they won the NXT Tag Team Championships at NXT Toronto 2016. Behind the scenes, they showcased Gargano's wedding and traveling the world together. It really captured the brotherhood of this. But just like any good old wrestling video package to really tug at the heartstrings, you get that emotional heel turn that was probably Triple H's first end of show logo, but the show continues. Tommaso Ciampa throws Gargano into the stage. Tommaso Ciampa unfortunately suffers a torn ACL very early in this rivalry, so they do have to put it on the back burner for a little bit. But working into this rivalry, I think having that prolonged beginning into a holy shit, the beginning worked with them as opposed to against them. Because when Ciampa came looking for Gargano, he found Gargano and he just screwed him out of any opportunity for the NXT Championship. This also came at a time moving forward to the match where I forgot NXT did not have a theme song for Tommaso Ciampa just because he wanted to be the true heel. Side note, Tommaso Ciampa was not in WWE 2K20, I believe, or 2K18. One of the 2Ks because he wanted to specifically be a heel and not be included in a video game, which is
I do remember that.
Insane.
Yes, that was like, I totally forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah, he did not want to be a part of one of the games just to add on to a character. So I had many created characters of Tommaso Ciampa in different ring gears. NXT Johnny Gargano. Holy shit. If there was a mode in video games that went easy, normal, hard, legendary, Johnny Gargano would be the fifth. He'd be above legendary because you can't put this man down. The match begins with that good old Edge and Christian Canadian hockey fight. Johnny Gargano quickly hits his signature slingshot spear. But the moment the momentum shifts to Ciampa, the crowd is filled with boos. And I mean, my headphones are at 100. I put them on the desk. I still hear these boos.
Yes.
A bit after this, the boos, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa make it to the outside. Ciampa tries to use the exposed concrete to his advantage, but just like a table, whoever sets the table up must go through that table, and whoever exposes the concrete must be the one receiving the concrete. But we'll get to that a little bit later in this match. Ronaldo, wherever his name is, his Mama Mia, totally forgot about it, but it created a crowd to start chanting it. Quickly. A match of the night that competed with a move of the night that competed with a few moves of the night earlier was the nasty suplex from Tommaso to Johnny Gargano off the announcer's table onto the floor. Thank God it was covered concrete, but still a nasty fall nonetheless. Fuck you, Ciampa chant was just as loud as the Mamma Mia chants. There was this nice little homage to HBK where Gargano got thrown into the corner. He does that flip over the ropes to kind of sell the brutality of the whip. Gargano kicking out at 1 after everything I just mentioned is prime NXT Johnny Gargano. The really nice thing about this match is bringing the crowd into it. Of course, breaking the fourth wall, the staged crowd into it, because there was a fan in a Johnny Gargano t-shirt who was on 2 crutches. Ciampa said, "Those crutches are now mine." Gargano ducked every hit of these crutches for the most part. Finally, the crutch comes into play. Johnny Gargano gets it. Ciampa uses the crutch against Gargano, where you're like, okay, this is maybe where we're going to see some blood. It was 2018 WWE. Don't know why I was thinking that. Of course, there was absolutely no blood. It took me a long time during the midsection to the end to really stay involved. The beginning really had me hooked. But what really got me to kind of go like, I'm back in, was there was this power bomb on from the ring apron skirt. I guess it's a sunset flip, and it's just a nasty splat of Ciampa's back on the concrete. And I was just like, God damn, these guys are still going today after enduring the pain they did in this match. Your ending moments called for when Gargano has the crutch. He's going to use it against Ciampa. Ciampa's kind of begging for mercy. Gargano's feeding into it, kind of playing possum, like, you know what, man, you're right. Let's put it all behind us. He goes to sit beside him. Ciampa goes for that sucker punch. Gargano says, nope, we've lived this story once. Grabs the knee brace, locks in an STF, knee brace around the mouth. Ciampa taps out. Johnny Gargano's back on the NXT roster, and that was your main event of NXT New Orleans 2018. What did you think of this?
Yes, I thought that this was the cherry on top of an already stellar show. This was the kickoff of the legendary feud. Well, technically kickoff, kind of Gargano and Ciampa. Kind of going back to what you said, the build-up, it all started back at TakeOver Chicago 2017. They lost the ladder match to AOP. Ciampa tore his ACL in that match, and then turned on Gargano before the show closed. It was an iconic turn with him sitting on the announcer table. And this was his first match back, I believe. I'm like 99% sure on that. And it was very high stakes because it could have been Gargano's last. Obviously, we learned by the great coverage there it was not the case. But this match was amazing, and I think, in my opinion, it was the best of their feud. I think that, the first one, kind of in the same way as how I felt with Omega Okada, that set of matches, I think the first is still my favorite. I agree with that here. intensity straight from the jump, even with the entrances and Ciampa, all the boos. I remember hearing that and I was just like, dude, these fucking sick. And Gargano, I love NXT Gargano. I mean, you can look back at it and be like, that was just cringe, but it's the fighting spirit, he was like the Spider-Man of NXT, I guess is the best way to put it. He was just so beloved back then. Obviously that match with Andrade really put him on the map. Again, my favorite match of all time there, I think. But yeah, I do remember like going back because when I think of the show, I definitely like look at it more in the lens of like, and I got most of the takeovers at that time of like, how did I feel like back then? Because 99% of it, I feel the same way now. And I just think of like being there and how excited I was. I went like my family usually did like their outings on like Saturday. We'd go, the stores, whatever. I think I actually competed in a tournament that day. It was like one of my first Smash tournaments, and I was just so excited to rush home, get NXT turned on, because I was watching the show weekly. I was just that pumped to see, like, it was on the network back then, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist no more, at least in America. Unfortunately, I miss it so much.
Likewise.
But yeah, it's not in Canada either.
No, ours is all through Netflix, and Netflix is missing like 70 to 80% of its catalog.
Wow. Okay, yeah. I thought it was just an America thing that didn't have. That's interesting. But yeah, no, network, bring it back. It was great. $9.99, if you remember that little slogan.
For the whole summer of 2014.
Yes. But yeah, no, it was, the match was great. It had so many great moments, callbacks, you name it, it had it. It more than deserved the praise it got. Again, if you care about star ratings, not as good as the section ratings there. But it also got 5 stars. And it capped off an amazing show.
It was probably one of my favorite takeovers to watch back because although I've watched matches from here or there, I've never watched the show back in its entirety in a few years, probably since the pandemic days. I can't agree with you more. Such a good show. If I'm doing the final ratings here, my favorite match actually is Andrade versus Aleister Black. Further hard-hitting offense and kind of just crowning Aleister Black as the NXT champion. And this one I am using so loosely because this is hurting for me to say. My least favorite match, and maybe I have to watch it again, might be Gargano and Ciampa, because I felt like it just dragged on a bit too long. Maybe I'm looking at it from a whole different perspective, but in the middle of the match when they lost me, when I came back, I was like, yeah, we're back on. But there was probably like 5 to 7 minutes of this match that could have sped up. But my overall show rating is a 5 out of 5.
Yes, I am in agreement with you in that. Yeah, I think this is one of the best shows of all time ever. I kind of mentioned it at the start of like why I chose it. It's just a very nostalgic time for me. With where I was in life, everything that was coming out, music, movies, games, whatever. Classic matches, classic feuds, the perfect length. If there is any show, the hope of, getting people exposed to wrestling, watching whatever, and I'm sure a majority of our people watching have probably already seen this or know about it, but this is the show that you gotta watch. Why I chose it. If it wasn't for Black and Gold NXT and the rise of New Japan popularity with Kenny, Okada, so on and so forth, there's no telling where I would have ended up watching wrestling, because I was kind of a little I still tuned in, but every week, but I was just kind of like, I don't know, like 20 them early 2010s were rough, being a WWE only watcher. But I was very glad that I got to look back at this with you and everybody tuning in as well. It won't be the last time, I can guarantee you that we'll see Black and Gold NXT on here. But I think this was the pinnacle. My favorite match was the 6-way, the ladder match. Again, just that one of the best openers of all time, if not the best. And my least favorite, I do also say this very loosely, was probably Andrade Aleister Black. I think like 85% of that has to do with who won and who lost. Because I rode for Andrade hard. Like I was a shooter for him for sure. And then my show rating, if we just cap it at keep it at a 5-star, it gets 5 out of 5. If I pull a Meltzer and like extend the rating, 10 out of 5, or we go to 10 out of 10, 7 stars. Number one show. I don't know. It breaks the barrier, but if we're just capping it, 5 out of 5.
Yes, sir. I really hope that we do get to revisit another takeover within the next maybe 5 to 10 episodes, because I will watch any takeover any day. Who knows? Maybe we'll travel down to 2019 NXT TakeOver Toronto for a future pick of mine. I was there in attendance. I have never watched it back. Yes, sir. I have never, ever watched it back. So I'd love to see what the camera got that maybe I didn't get from my seats. But from the Section 103 seats, I'm going to tell you guys what we're watching next week. We have our first special guest. He's a Canadian independent wrestler going by the name of D. Smith. And when we have a guest on, we let the guest choose what we're watching. We will be watching Monday Night Raw from December 7th, 1998. And that is when it was the infamous moment between The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm not going to spoil it because you either have to go watch it yourself or tune along with us next week. Tune along with us next week while we watch it. This has been Matt and Peyton of the Section 103 podcast. We hope everybody has a fantastic day. We'll catch you later.
See ya.